All right, people. Welcome to another edition of the New Breed Show, the world's best podcast and YouTube show, talking everything new with you. I am one half of your hosting duo, Jay Horskow. With me, I have my partner in crime, the notorious TIM, Tim Anderson Jr. Tim, are you enjoying this warm winter weather? Because I'm not. It fucking sucks. It's
Absolutely
terrible.
love it.
It's too hot. It's too hot. And joining us straight from the Deep South, fresh off his I would argue, successful tour with the Acacia Strain, Kubla Khan, and Dying Wish, Mr. Adam Easterling of the band Orthodox. Adam, thanks again for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me. If I'll go ahead and apologize for the likely amount of heavy coughing I'll be doing throughout this episode, as I'm still COVID positive from that arguably successful tour. So,
hey, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Well, yeah. At least this episode we've actually met in real life.
Yes.
Yeah, I probably gave you guys COVID. So.
Oh, memories. All right. So this episode, what are we going to do? We're going to do a quasi take on albums of the year. Only we're not going to sit here and list out top 10s. We are not going to sit here and list out what worked, what didn't. What we did amongst the three of us is we each grabbed 3 random albums from our list of things that stuck out to us. And the instructions were grab 3 albums and put it in our chat group. Preferably if you can find stuff that maybe the other 2 people in the group haven't heard of or may not be super familiar with, even better. But we wanted to expose each other to some of the stuff that we really like. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have a go and discuss what we thought, what our thoughts were. I know me personally, I heard most of Adam's stuff. There was one band that I really, really liked. I hadn't heard most of Tim's stuff. So it's going to be an interesting conversation. So first I'm going to start with you, Tim. Pick a number between 1 and 10.
6.
All right. Adam, number between 1 and 10.
What did he just say? He glitched.
6.
Fuck. God, 7.
Oh, 7. All right. So Tim goes first. He picked the lowest number because I'm the judge, so I don't really get to say. So Tim, which album are we going to start talking about first? Grab one off your list.
I really, really like this Humanity's Last Breath record.
Okay.
I don't know how to. Is it Valde?
I think it's Volde.
Yeah, because it's Swedish.
Yeah.
So like, I'd never really know how to say their stuff because they have one of them really thick accents, like when they speak, especially when they can speak English. Like you're like, I know where he's from. But that record, I don't know if you guys got around to listen. I know Jay, you have.
I listened to probably the first half of it. Was all that I.
Yeah.
What'd you think, Adam?
It's very heavy and
Yes.
it's in like almost like an ominous sense that you don't usually get with, I don't want to call them a deathcore band because they're a little deeper than that. But deathcore adjacent things don't usually have that much, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess eeriness. It was just had an actual dark emotion to it as opposed to just trying to be heavy, which is, like I said, kind of uncommon for that sort of music. So my particular genre of choice, but it was a lot easier to listen to than a lot of bands that try to do that.
Yeah, I was going to say, Adam, that's not really your wheelhouse, right? Tonally, like that's not something you would purposefully.
Most of the records you guys recommended were not in my wheelhouse.
Truth be told, Adam did text us at one point. He goes, "Okay, can you guys lay it off with the 96-minute albums of deathcore? I can't do it anymore."
Yeah, the first one was like 18 songs. No, it was longer than 18 songs. It was. I scrolled down to the bottom of Spotify and it said an hour and a half. I was like, I'm literally on tour and I don't have time to do for this. I'm not going to sacrifice my band piece to this hour and a half long breakdown. Like
with all your bandmates, like, yo, what is the shit these guys are listening to?
Yeah, why is he still doing this?
Well, speaking, the funny thing about that is the Viljaharda that he sent you at first. That's the dude Buster in that band is also the dude who writes all the Humanity's Last Breath stuff. So it's his other band.
Yeah, they're kissing cousins.
Okay.
I really like this Humanity's Last Breath. This came out early in the year, right, Tim? This was like a February,
March, yeah, something like that.
To me, I really enjoyed it. To me, this was the year of deathcore and slam for me. I listened to way more of that than I thought I was going in. One of the other things that this band did that I really kind of enjoyed is they released an instrumental version of this album. And as much as I like the vocals, to go back and listen to the album instrumentally, you can really appreciate that what Adam was talking about, that eerie heaviness,
the dissonance and all that.
Yeah. It comes through a lot. It's a lot more prevalent when the vocals aren't in the way. Not to say that they're in the way, because they're good, but it's just fucking heavy.
It's like one of them records that like I feel like if you have a bad dream and you're getting like chased, this is the music you hear. It's like nightmare music.
Yeah.
It just humbles you, dude. And I love it.
Is this independent, Tim, or were they Unique Leader? Who's the label?
Unique Leader.
Unique Leader? Yeah.
I think that I did a best of for my one show. Excuse me. And like, I think 12 of the bands came out on Unique Leader because they put out so much good stuff. It's like every time I like something, I'm like, let me guess, Unique Leader. And it is usually.
Yep.
But this is,
yeah.
I think this is one of the most impressive. I don't know what to call it. Like Adam said, it's not deathcore. It's not really death metal. It's kind of genty. Even though I hate gent, I think that term's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's one of the most innovative records that comes out in this genre because it's just like the riffing and the pacing is just fucking top notch. Like you can't bang your head to it because it just transitions so quick, and then you're just like, what just happened? Like I think like the first half of the record is just like masterpiece material shit. Like, I mean, it's just really fucking like, I don't know like what them dudes do over there, because I always feel like people from over in Europe and like places like that, I just feel like the musicianship over there is just top. It's just way ahead than America, I believe, in this genre, death metal, black metal.
Yeah.
I mean, we got hardcore and all that stuff already done. I mean, the hardcore over there, it's few and far between, I think. But this stuff, you got to go to Europe to really get the feel of where this stuff comes from. Because, I mean, I guess you could arguably say that's where death metal and black metal comes from, right? Europe.
Yeah. I mean, part of it is probably the weather. Part of it is probably the culture. Culturally, it's more acceptable. Artists actually get stipends from the government to record their music. Like, I mean, one of my favorite bands that comes from that area, I mean, aside from Meshuggah, it's Rotten Sound. And Rotten Sound literally talks about, their government gives them a stipend to make their art, which is really, really cool. But yeah, this is by the way, for our listeners, for our viewers who haven't figured it out, we are not specifically doing nu metal. We're doing stuff outside of nu metal. So it's going to be a little adjacent here or there, but we're really trying to expand everybody's palette and take you on a ride.
Yeah. And before we go to the next one, I just think that all around the tones on this record are good. The vocals are good. I mean, the mixing, the mastering's good. It's definitely a record that puts you on like a journey. Like as you listen to it, it's just like, especially if you put headphones on, like a really good pair of headphones, I would suggest to do that for this record if you're going to check it out.
Yeah.
It's definitely a headphone record. I think so.
The mix itself lends a lot of things you can't pick up on big speakers.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, even in my AirPods, I was just like, dude, like they're an incredible piece of equipment, I think, man.
Yeah.
Just like especially if you have them fitted correctly, because a lot of people you see, they have them, they're like falling out, and it's like, go down a little bit.
Yeah, just one size down. I don't know. I'm the same way where like for the longest time I was like, oh, I don't need smaller tips to it. Like I was like, no, I can't do that. I got big ears. I'm a man. And then I went a size down. I was like, oh, this is way more comfortable.
Yeah, you can hear the bass better. Yeah, just get a good pair of headphones and sit down in a room and just fall into it, because it's one of them records, I think. Yeah. Same with the Vilja. I don't even know if I say that name. Is it Viljaharda?
Vild. I think it's Vildhirta. I actually emailed someone from Norway. Okay. I'm like, hey, how do I pronounce this? He's like, okay, you're gonna ask me to type this phonetically, and he sent me a link to Google. It's like Vildhirta, and the album is Masten unter Watten.
Okay.
Yeah, hour and a half of Yeah, I can't even describe it.
Yeah.
That one was mathcore. It was unreal. Like every 2 seconds, it was throwing a different time signature to a point where I was like, it took so long for the vocals to come in that I was kind of hoping there wasn't vocals, because I was like, this is so wild as it is. And then I also, as a vocalist, I'm like, how do you write anything coherent to this? And it was really good. I got 3 songs in and was like, how long is this? And I was like,
3 songs in, you looked over, it's like an hour and a half later, you've crossed over 2 state lines. It's like, yeah, okay. All right, that's enough.
That's what's impressive about these 2 bands, man. It's like you listen to it and you're just like, how do you come up with vocal patterns for this stuff? And you know what I mean? I mean, you being a vocalist, I mean, it's even you're saying it. It's like, shit. Okay.
yeah, it's I've never done like the guttural thing where like you can kind of just do long expressions and like hold out your tones for a really long time. So I'd imagine that makes it easier than, you know, really art. What's the word? What's the word where you pronounce? Oh, well, no.
The articulation.
Yeah, I thought that's what I was about to say, and then I thought that was wrong. But yeah, we articulate it really well. Enunciate, no, articulate's
Enunciate. There you go. Okay.
You know, not having to enunciate as much helps with being able to spread out longer patterns and so on. But all the same, to even sit down and have a start to end phrase when the music is just all over the place instrumentally is taxing.
Yeah. God bless him. God bless him. All right, Adam, you're up. Pick which album of yours are we going to talk about?
Let's start with A Tear in the Fabric of Life by Knocked Loose.
Oh, okay.
So holy shit, right?
Yeah.
Like holy shit, like this is fucking heavy. Like this is really heavy. I mean, I like everything they've done up until this point. I really enjoyed this, but I was not expecting something this crunchy out of them. Really was not at all.
Yeah, I think what they really did was kind of step away from. It's kind of a step away from hardcore. Like the first 2 LPs that they did are very, very much like metal centric, but still had a lot of like blatant hardcore influence. This album is very much like a metal record.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's another one of those where, as we just were saying with Humanity's Last Breath, it has an emotion and an eeriness and an unsettling factor to it that you don't have in a lot of music like this. And not only that, but it's an actual concept record. Did you guys watch the video for it?
Yeah.
I've had it on in the background. I haven't watched it. I've caught chunks of it. Gotcha.
Yeah. So, I mean, to anyone that is listening that's unaware, they did a video that's an animated video. I forget what Meshuggah song is animated. Off of Obscene, I think.
Is it? It's not Bleed, or is it The Mouth Licking What You Bled? Maybe I don't remember.
I know I think it is on Obscene.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same guy. Did a full feature. Let me see. How long is this album? It's only 6 songs, but it's like 20 some. I think it's like 18 to 20 minutes or something.
Yeah,
21 minutes.
20. Yeah. Okay.
He does a 21-minute video for the entire thing. That is it follows a main character that the storyline of the album is written about. And the whole thing is somebody basically reconnecting with someone that they've lost. And that's why, you know, one of the big vocal breaks is I Am With You Now, is like them finally like coming together. And yeah, it's just them being friends of mine. And we toured together in 2015. They they just put out Pop Culture. And to just see where it's gone to this, where like, what song is it? I want to say it's Forced to Stay is the song that I'm thinking of. But basically the end of it is like a huge, just like dun 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 dun, and the drums go from snare to hi-hat to tom to 2 different splashes to crashes. And it's more the cool thing about like the way that they build these climaxes specifically in these songs is there are actual peaks and valleys to these songs and actual peaks and valleys to the record. And the way that they make those peaks really hit is like the parts themselves sound almost like they're scoring something as opposed to just playing a breakdown. It sounds like it is actually the music that's meant to be behind a visual as opposed to just being front and center. This is, you know, a metal band. And it's also the story behind how they came up with not only Brian with the concept, but how they wrote the music is they went to a cabin in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, during the lockdown, and were there for, I want to say 2 weeks. I don't know the actual time frame, but from what I understood is they watched two horror movies a day, and then the rest of the day when they weren't eating or sleeping, they were writing this record.
That's kind of wild because this is, I
That
mean,
is
for a
great.
bunch of young hardcore kids, right? There's no arguing. They're a bunch of young hardcore kids. They put out a really dark, really heavy concept album, which was truly coming from left field when you look at A Different Shade of Blue and how good that album was and how well received it was. And then they basically hung a hard left and came out with something which was really dark. I mean, that Beach Boys sample is one of the creepiest fucking things they could have thrown in there, right? Because it's completely incongruous with the rest of the music. But I'm a big fan. I like the music that they do. I also kind of think my own personal take is with Isaac getting to write more traditional hardcore stuff and inclination, maybe he gets to scratch an itch a little bit more with Knocked Loose. And Adam, you know him, so maybe you could speak more intelligently to it. But I kind of feel like he gets some of that traditional 4 on the floor hardcore stuff out of the way with inclination. And now he's like, yo, let's write something fucking heavy. Like, let's just blow doors all places.
I don't know if it's so much that, because Isaac's always been in a million bands as long as I've known him. He's literally played for Orthodox for a tour. Like he will be in any band that asks him. I think it is one of the things that I love that Brian and Isaac were talking to me once about years ago, and they were talking about, I think we were on the topic of bands coming out and like how every band at some point will be like, oh, we ran out of riffs, so we started singing over choruses and so on and so forth. And there are bands that do that really well, but Knocked Loose, Isaac said, he's like, I don't know that we'll ever do anything like that, because the goal of this band is with every release that we do, we want it to be the heaviest thing that comes out in that time. So they are literally just always striving to find a way to have the most impact and be the heaviest band of the now.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I think a word that I already said comes into this one as well. Another innovative record. I think that a lot of kids have heard this and they're going to try and, imitate it. And I think they're one of them bands that is so like uber talented. Like it's going to be hard to do that. Like, I don't know how, what label are they on again? Is it Pure Noise?
Pure Noise.
I mean, I see a Roadrunner deal coming any day, honestly. It might have already happened. I mean, because the band, they have to go much higher than this, because that record is, and I will admit, nothing against the singer. I just really not into his vocals that much, but the fucking music, man, is next level shit. I mean, it's for young kids, dude. Like, I hear this kind of stuff and I'm just like, I would never think of this stuff when I was 22. You know what I mean? I would do Hatebreed chugs and think that was hard. You know what I mean?
The one thing that I like a lot about this album is it shows, and you're talking about how many younger people are going to hear this and incorporate this into their own influences and so on. It shows you that you can produce something that's out of the box without just being chaotic.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
doesn't have to be all over the place, because this album it has a lot of varying tones and varying feelings throughout it, but it is all very in line with each other. There's not one single song that feels out of place or feels like it wasn't supposed to be there. It all feels like the same idea the whole way through, but everything is interesting, and that is very hard to deliver. And I think that again, like, shows you can do something different, you can do something unique without just throwing 3/4 to 7/8 and back to 4 in the same phrase. Like, you can do all sorts of cool things. It just depends on how you deliver it.
And you know what? Kudos to them for sticking to an EP, 6 songs and out, because they could have tried to, some bands, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but there were bands that put out full lengths that Tim and I have talked about, where if they had cut like that down 3 or 4 songs, maybe did a 7-song EP, it would have been that much more impressive. They kept it lean, and because it's lean, it's actually heavier.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you said, 90 minutes of fucking breakdowns where it's like, oh my God, I'm still going. 6 songs in and out.
Yeah.
Get in, do your damage, and leave.
Exactly. They also, I just looked, the reason that you may have just heard guitars turn on is because I accidentally hit play. I was looking at Different Shade of Blue and Laugh Tracks, and Laugh Tracks is 11 songs. It's 29 minutes. Different Shade of Blue is 12 songs, 38. And then this one's 6 songs, 21. So I think what they also did is they took less songs, but put a little longer length onto them so that they could get more accomplished in less time. So
yeah,
it's a really, there is one of those releases that I could find really no fault, no critique personally. Outside, the only thing that I could imagine a critique from is, in Tim's case, is just a matter of taste, of not liking the vocals necessarily.
Yeah.
But even that, it's one of those things where if you put anybody else on this, I don't think it has the same impact.
No, you're 100% correct with that. It doesn't. Like, you just get a guy who just sounds exactly like everybody else. It's just another deathcore record. But
yeah, I mean, I
kind
like
of
his
think
vocals
that,
for that reason. They stand out because
Yeah.
they are a little different.
Yeah, and dude, they absolutely crush live. I mean, people listening to this, if you've never seen this band live, go see them.
Go see them live.
Even if you don't like them,
Yeah,
I
they're
mean, literally,
super tight live too.
They have just gotten better and better and better. And one of those things that happens so often with bands that like go from playing, moderate venues to suddenly playing big, huge rooms is it can be a little daunting. And there's a lot of Q's and T's and all. What's the fucking term? Oh my God. There's T's and I's that gotta be dot and cross.
Dotted I's and cross T's.
Yeah. And Jesus, sorry guys. And that don't always happen, but they have literally every aspect of what they need to do falls into place to where I just saw them with Gojira on that tour for Gojira's new record, and Knocked Loose sounded better than Gojira.
And they held their own, I'll bet. They held their own, right?
It's not even a matter of holding their own so much as it was literally it was like watching, as it should be for a show that size, it should look like you're watching two headliners. But for a band who had, and Knocked Loose, who had a quarter of the production that, if even a quarter, an eighth of the production that Gojira had, all they had was Taylor doing lights for them, and she kicks ass. But, Gojira shows up and has fog and the huge mist guns and multiple stages. Knocked Loose has her knocking out the lights, and then their songs, and their reaction was bigger and they sounded better.
I mean, that's awesome.
It's all in the tone, man, like what they use and stuff. Like, Gojira is a hard band to play before because people in that crowd are going to be like, who the fuck are these
assholes,
young kids?
Yeah.
But then they come on and people are just like, holy fuck. Like, I remember This Is Hardcore when they played. There's a dude next to me like, oh, these these F-word kids are coming on, blah, 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 blah. But then when they come on, the dude's like, holy shit, this is heavy as fuck. And I'm just like,
it's like,
why do you like judge like just because they're young? Like,
oh man, we were literally laughing at this in Philly about how there's people. It happens a lot in certain regions of the country where the hardcore scene permits people to keep coming up until they're significantly older. In the South, 35 is usually the cutoff. People kind of stop coming around. But you go to Philadelphia, you go to New York, you go to different parts of the Northeast specifically, and then a lot on the West Coast, there's people that are 50, 60 years old. And this is not to say that all of them are like this, but there's a lot of them that just, you can watch them actively trying to not enjoy a band because it's not hardcore.
Yep.
And it cracks. I'm like, dude, if you would just allow yourself to hear what's happening in front of you, like you could see it a lot in not just older people too, but a lot of hardcore kids. You can see them trying to not enjoy Kubla Khan. I'm like, dude, Kubla Khan it's
fucking fun.
Kubla Khan as a band is more of a hardcore group of people than every hardcore band you've ever listened to. Like, I promise. Like, they are the most primal, low to the earth, like, here to do this fucking job group of people. And their music is just modern hate breed. So I don't understand why people
are just assholes.
It's funny you say that because, like, I knew Mike was a great drummer, but seeing you guys live, I'm like, yo, he's a
machine.
Dude, he's a machine. Really fucking good drummer, man. Like, you
just wait till you hear the new album. It's hilarious.
Like, I was impressed, man. Like when you guys played Body and Soul, I was just like, fuck, dude. Yeah. That's why, like, when I seen him at the bar, I was like, dude, I hate to do this to you. Like, I'm gonna punish you right now, but dude, you were an incredible drummer. And he's just he's like, nah, man, you're fine. I know you. And I'm just like, yeah, but I'm like that dude that's just like, dude, like great set. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna punish you right here.
Yeah,
But
you don't want to
that
be
dude
that guy.
impressed me, man.
Yeah, he showed up literally our first I may have told you this, Tim, but he literally our first rehearsal back right before we started this run, we got through the way we do our sets, we do them in chapters because I'm terrible at talking to the crowd and I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
We're all like, the whole point is we're really intense. So let's not break that intensity and make me be like, hey guys, how's it going? So like we do our songs in chapters to where it'll be, you start with a sample or an intro and then it goes a few songs in, you cut it for a sample, you tune and breathe. Second chapter, do the same thing. Third chapter, do the same thing, but you end on a high note. And by the time we finished our first chapter in rehearsal, I literally just walked across the room. It was like, gave him like, dapped him up. I was like, yo, I was like, that is the best you have ever played these songs. He came for this tour on a completely different level he's always been a really, really good drummer. He has taken a step towards being one of the better drummers that's in the touring circuit right now.
Yeah. He made Zone Zero even better than they already are.
Yeah.
I mean, his drumming just added an element to that band where I was just like, I didn't think like the old drummer was good, held his own, but when you put Mike into that, it's just like, yeah, way better band.
Yep. He is Columbus's best drummer. Everyone there says it.
Oh yeah, that's what I was telling Jordan that. I was like, yo, you're, the drummer, hold on to him because I just seen him last night. He is fucking really good. He's like, oh yeah, he's the best drummer I've ever seen. And that, Jordan says that, you're saying, you know what I mean? So it's
guy definitely has some talent. All right, so let's swing it around a bit. So you guys went really heavy. I'm going to go in the opposite direction. So the first pick off my list is going to be Sleep Token. This place will become your tomb. So I missed out on this band. The last album came out in 2020. Was it
2019?
Was it 19?
I believe. Don't quote me on that.
And I never even heard the band until way after the fact. Them and Loathe were two bands that I had never heard of. And then I found, I was like, fuck, this would have made my best of list. If Hunter Young from Mood Ring is listening, he's going to be angry because he told us they sound like Hosier fronting a deathcore band. But I really like it. I think his vocals are unique and just the music, it really is pretty cool and pretty different. What did you think, Tim? I'll start with you.
I liked the record before this a lot better. This record is very good, but the one before that just had more memorable songs to me. I think that this is the kind of band, though, that people look at and they just go, what is going on up there? Because like I hear pianos and then it's like 8-string djenting and it's just like beautiful fucking vocals over everything. And it's just like when you see them live, it's just like you're just like people in the crowd are just like, well, like, am I alive right now? Because what is going on? Because it's just so like it alters your mind when you listen to it because you're just like, I've never heard anything like this. And I think that's really special for a band to be able to do that.
Very unique aesthetic. Very unique. Like the guy must weigh 90 pounds soaking wet. I mean, he makes Adam look like a linebacker. And he's got a mask on and he's all, body blacked out. And but man, he's got some pipes. What did you think, Adam?
I was just laughing because I Googled Sleep Token real quick to just kind of pull up any like small little facts I could riff off here. And the first thing it says in people also ask, what's the deal with Sleep Token is like a common thing that people Google. So, and then the other one, the other thing is like the other questions are relevant to what we're talking about is the next one is Sleep Token a religious band? Who worships Sleep Token? What type of music is Sleep Token? It's like all these things are very important because I didn't know what these guys, I don't know what they look like. I didn't know what the image was. I didn't know how they branded themselves until after I listened to the record. And I kind of wish I'd known before because it would have changed my perspective on it 200% because the way that they target themselves is it's supposed to be a worship service. So that's like why they're saying is Sleep Token a religious band? Who worships Sleep Token? is literally their whole entire thing is like come to worship.
Yeah.
And it's not religious, but they are like saying that they are a cult essentially. And it's when you hear it in that regard, it makes the name Sleep Token way cooler. But yeah, to me, I agree with Tim. I didn't even listen to the earlier record on my own. Mike just happened to play it. It was funny. I literally was telling him about this episode and what records I was trying to figure out what I wanted to submit to you guys or something like that. And I was telling him about Sleep Token. I was like, have you heard this band? He's like, yeah. And I started talking about how they look and all that. And then he put the other album on. I didn't even know that he had done it, but we got halfway through. I was like, oh, this must be an old Sleep Token record. I was like, yeah. And I agree. I did like that one a lot more.
Yeah.
But
it's just got hooks, better hooks, kind of catchier.
Yeah.
You know?
It just has a little more standout spots. And I wish I had thought to really look more into This Place Will Become Your Tomb, because I feel like it could be, let's see. Oh, it says right here, basically an album that intensely demonstrates what it means to be human. So it wouldn't surprise me if this is another concept album and I just wasn't aware. But it literally, you know, as I got towards the end of the record, it does feel hypnotic in a sense of, you know, as you're going, you don't really notice that the songs are changing. It is an entire album made up completely of highs and lows. There's no real in between. You're either like underwater or you're flying.
Yeah,
and
that's a great explanation.
Yeah.
And I also didn't really know what we were getting into when I first, you were talking about Hosier fronting a deathcore band or whatever. To me, it sounded like Imagine Dragons with 8 strings. And and I feel like that may be a more fair comparison, because Dragons does do the whole huge production with timpanis and all this different stuff. But this band to me sounds like a band that is supposed to be in a huge room. It sounds like you're supposed to hear them in a cathedral. And it's a very interesting band. I don't know. I will definitely see it live if I get the chance, only because of what I know now. But I don't know how much I'll revisit this album, but I'll definitely be listening on the next one.
I guarantee you this is just hardcore kids.
Oh, absolutely.
Guarantee it. It's because nobody knows who the band is besides the producers, obviously.
You say that, Tim.
An anonymous band, like all the way.
Yeah, nobody knows who they are.
Yep. There's like speculation about who plays what, but yeah, they've never like come out and said, you know, it wasn't a guessing game to figure out who does what. You know, you said it's probably all ex-hardcore kids, Tim. This album, to me, this year got lumped in with Spirit Box and Turnstile, in the sense of, shit, I want to listen to something, but I'm really not sure what I want to listen to. And I don't want to like blow my fucking brains out with heavy. Oh, I'll put this on.
Yeah.
Those 3 albums to me, and you know, Spirit Box is what? I Wrestle a Bear Once, and Turnstile has obvious hardcore roots. I really enjoy his voice. I enjoy the song structure. It's not as catchy, but I would definitely see this live just to see what it's all about. Because like Adam said, they announced, like, you follow them on Instagram, they talk about, you know, our London show has been scheduled. Please come join us in worship. You know, like that whole aesthetic is actually pretty cool. Imagine them touring with like a Halung, however you say that. That weird band who, by the way, Tim, they are coming to the States. They're playing, I think they're playing the Knitting Factory up in Brooklyn.
Oh, wow.
And I'm debating, like, telling my brother, hey, why don't you take the night off of work? We'll go. Because I think this is one of those things I just need to see once in my life before they don't do it anymore. But yeah, I'm a big fan. If you like heavy, but palatable, if you're listening, watching, please check it out. You might actually really enjoy them.
Yeah, if you want to clean your house on Saturday and like Adam said, have the high and lows, there you go, man. Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, you said that they were completely anonymous. I'm looking through this and there's multiple articles, and one is saying that they've done a bunch of investigative journalism to figure out that it is hold on, I just had it. Well,
it's just a bunch of kids in hardcore and death metal bands, and
I think his name was Leo Faulkner.
Leo Faulkner. I'm familiar.
I just found it.
I mean, obviously someone knows, but it's like, how do
Yeah.
you keep that like hidden so well?
From the group Blacklit Canopy.
Never heard of them.
Yeah, I don't know. UK is like a different country, you know.
Are they from the UK?
Yes.
They're from Britain.
Okay.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Love to see them come again, have them come over with Loathe and do a co-headlining tour. That would be fucking wild.
Oh, that Loathe record is so good.
Oh, it's so good.
All
right, so we'll move it past that, and I think we're back to you, Tim. So what are we talking about next?
I want to go into the Black Coast record.
Outworld. We're across the pond. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I figured we'll stay with the UK.
So for our listeners, watchers, Tim, describe it.
So this would probably be the most nu metal record. I don't really consider them nu metal. I would consider them more of a metalcore-ish band, but the people listening that are into nu metal, you're going to like this record. It has nu metal elements, but I wouldn't call them a nu metal band.
Consider Limp Bizkit a nu metal band?
What's that?
You consider Limp Bizkit a nu metal band?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just not a nu metal band.
This one?
Dude, literally opens up with a riff that is exactly Limp Bizkit. It's like Limp Bizkit meets what's the second song on Korn? Coward?
Blind?
Blind. Yeah, it literally sounds like Limp Bizkit meets Blind.
Oh, you know what I'm thinking of? Ache. Yeah, it does. But a lot of the songs have like a Every Time I Die feel to it as well.
They definitely, yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just
no, you're fine. And that's honestly why I sent this record in, because A, I really liked it, and B, I thought you would enjoy it because it has that Every Time I Die riffing in it in some of the songs, but some of the songs are just very like they have them chord structures that just like swirl into the mix, man. I love that shit. Like you get like the first couple tracks and then the last track, it just has them choruses that like make you want to sing.
A lot of the heavier UK stuff now has definitive nu metal influence, right? Like we were talking about this stuff like Blood Youth, stuff like Death Blooms, Dream Eater, Loathe, right? Everybody loves to call Loathe. They sound like the Deftones. They don't sound like the fucking Deftones. They're totally different.
People say that because of the vocals.
Yeah, because he croons. But I mean, a lot of that UK stuff, I would argue they're doing that nu metal influence better than some of the stuff here in the States. They're doing a good job of it.
I mean, this was a record I was listening to something else, and you know, if you have Apple Music, I'm sure Spotify does it as well, but like when you're done, it'll play bands that they think sound alike. And this just happened to come on, and I was looking at the artwork. I'm like, oh, this is cool. This is before the record was out. Like, I think they had like 3 singles. And I think the first song I heard was the last track, Stranger Skin or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I just heard him sound like Lane Staley in the chorus, and I was just like, yo, who is this? Like, if you listen to that song, he sounds exactly like Lane.
Wildly off topic, but while we're on the topic of the UK, Adam, have you guys done the UK? Have you done Europe yet?
We were booked to do Kubla Khan's headliner twice, and both times got postponed and then eventually canceled. So.
COVID?
Yeah.
Ridiculous, man. Well, you had. I mean, it's we're getting over it.
Yep.
I do want to say though, I think the UK scene right now with that kind of stuff is, you know, what Jay said. I think that it's huge right now, and I think that a lot of US bands are hearing that stuff, and they're just like, yo, like we can't let these guys take our crown because, you know, nu metal is the United States.
Yeah, it came from here,
and then over there, they're just
so.
What's that?
It's the trashiest genre to ever exist, so it's got to be American.
I love it, man.
Yeah, but you know what? It is what it is. I really enjoyed this album. I think there was a lot of interesting nu metal influence stuff to come out this year, but I really enjoyed this more so than I thought. They write some good music. That was the other thing. Like, they write good music. It's not plainly derivative. It's not uninspired. The songs are pretty catchy to the point where, to your point, Tim, you know, I hate when Spotify autoplays. It drives me fucking bananas. But I would finish the album and I would just start it again And every time I would loop it, I'd pick up a different song. I'm like, oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. I like what they did there. So
that literally
really cool
happens to
stuff.
me every time I hear it. Like there's a one song where he's talking about like his dad and stuff. And I'm like, I'm reading the lyrics. I'm like, this must be a record where like he's just like overcoming an addiction of some sort. Because you could just tell like when people overcome addictions, like they want to sing about it, which is fine. Whatever. If that helps you get it off your chest, complete whatever.
I mean, there's 4 straight tracks that are called Addict, Mental, Vodka, Smile, and Void. All of which.
So yeah, I mean, so it's obviously it's either he's talking about someone that has a problem or himself that had a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is fine, but like I think the best music is where people are actually like putting forth like a non-fictional thing, you know, like
Oh yeah.
because when people, and I've said this before, and a lot of people get pissed. It's like I hate a lot of the times when singers just throw the towel in and they go, just give me lyrics that rhyme. And it's like, all right, like I can't write lyrics for shit, so I can't really say anything. But like, I always enjoy music more when the lyrics actually mean something, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and I got that from this record, and the more I listen to it, like you guys say, I pick up on other stuff. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't notice this the first 14 times I listened to it. You know what I mean? And then it's like, of course they're from the UK, so we can't interview them because it'll be fucking
trying to
3 in the morning.
If you're listening from the UK, you know, we just had Nick on. Nick, I'm sure, will help us out. We could probably hit Matt Karp up. We have the worst, you know, Adam, you're joking about you're an hour behind us going, oh shit, we're supposed to record. With the UK guys, it's always a disaster with Tim and I. Like it takes 2 to 3 attempts for us to get it sorted because we have daylight savings and all these other weird shit. And they're like, hey, what time is it over there? We're like, oh my God. And then trying to do that calculus is kind of terrible. So if you're a band from the UK that we've reached out to, we do want to have you on. It's just a little bit more painful than expected.
It's easier to have Australian bands on the podcast.
I've done Australian podcasts before.
Yeah,
you did
a UK podcast.
You did the Mosh Zone, right?
Yeah, Jeremy,
he hasn't done one in months. I love that podcast. The fuck's going on with him?
I actually did 2, and then I don't think the second one ever was published.
Okay.
But the second one was like during, and I think he and I may have gotten a little too political, which may have been why he didn't publish it.
Gotcha.
I was saying a lot of shit, and he was saying a lot of shit, and it may have just been we probably shouldn't do this one, but
yeah.
It's all good.
But yeah, this record was my favorite of the suggested ones from you guys. This was like the one that really knocked it out. I not even finished with the record, sent it to Mike and was like, yo, this is a band I want to tour with, like flat out. They are sick. And the only critique I have is not even really a critique, is there's not a song I didn't like. It was more so like start to finish, it does jump a little bit, because I feel like if you're going to be super heavily influenced by something like nu metal, you need to like try to incorporate that as much as you can in every song. And there was a couple of songs in here that were very Comeback Kids, Straight from the Path like to me.
Yeah.
And they weren't bad. Like one of those songs is Burn. It is very much a newer Comeback Kids song, which it kicks ass. It rules, but it doesn't sound much like Ache to me, which was like the starter song of like, oh shit, this is nuts. So yeah, this record was really, really cool. I really enjoyed this one a lot.
Yeah, when I seen you post it in your story, I was like, I knew he was gonna like that one.
Yep.
Yeah, you know it's a good album when you stop and start sending it to people before it's even halfway done. That's when you know you found something.
Oh, I do that to you all the time.
Oh,
I'm like, listen to it right now.
Yep. Yeah. He'll say, oh shit. Like, hold on. And then, you know, at least it's not you and not Pat Cleary. Shout out to Pat. He's our buddy Adam. If it wasn't recorded in a forest somewhere in Scandinavia on a boombox, he doesn't like it. And he'll send this stuff, which is just like this like fuzzed out black metal. It's like, oh my God, like what is that, an antelope in the background? That's an antelope in the background. Like it's like, dude, stop sending me this shit. And he posts like 6 links in a row to all different bands. It's like, oh, what is this?
Is he the one that you guys were like, oh, our buddy Pat likes your band? And I was like, who the fuck is Pat?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He's like, hey, this Orthodox stuff isn't bad. Yeah, Pat, you got some taste. All right, let's move us along. So Adam, next pick for you.
I'm to throw a curveball here. and we're going to talk about The Day We Got What We Deserved by Tradewind.
Excellent record.
I fucking love this.
Yeah.
And I'd never heard this band before. And I love this. Like I put it on and I went, and I kept, you know, because I'm sitting here, my speaker's next to me, and I caught myself. I kept turning my head and staring at it. And then the album got done. I'm like, oh shit, that's done. And I would started it again. Really, really good. Are they local to you, Adam?
No. They are. The main reason I know of this band is the producer that we just worked with for a month, Randy LaBeouf. He is the guitarist for this, or one of the guitarists for this band, or he plays keys, and it's either bass or guitar. But he wrote pretty much everything of this album during the lockdown. He had he basically was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go trip and write a record, and that's what this became. And he did all the recording for it. The reason I thought it'd be cool to include it is because Randy worked, you know, with Will Putney for a decade. He was at a studio currently called Graphic Nature, which was originally called the Machine Shop, which is where, if you just look up records that were made in the Machine Shop, the list is unreal. The other members of this band, the other guitarist is Tom, the guitarist from Straight from the Path. The singer is the singer of Stick to Your Guns.
Yep.
And the drummer, I believe, is the drummer for Sentinels.
Yes.
Oh, we were just
yeah,
talking
you
about
just
that.
brought them up. Yeah. Isn't the singer in Ways Away too?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think he's in Ways Away, which is good too. I was very surprised at this record because when I put it on, I was expecting that Deftones-esque stuff you would get in the first couple EPs, but this one totally just caught me off guard. And at first, I'm not gonna lie, I fucking hated it. I was like, "What is this?" And I listened to it again and again, and I was like, "No, this is really good." Like that "Die Die Die" song gets stuck in my head.
I texted Randy. Randy's on he's on a little going down to Louisiana to see his folks for the first time in a while, and so I didn't get the answers that I wanted from him, but I wanted to be like, hey, that cassette changeover between the first and second track, did you pick a specific cassette? Because that's some shit to do. Like, I know that it doesn't matter at all, but I know 100% this was this cassette. I wanted to make sure it was this, so this way this piece could be on this album. And he's such an unbelievably creative person that when he told me that he was the one that like orchestrated the whole thing, I was like, oh yeah, duh, that makes the most sense. Originally it was going to be a project that he just kind of wrote the songs, was like, yeah, I'll just keep these to myself, I don't know what. And then he and the drummer were talking about it, and they're like, yo, should we do, you know, the other two? Sent it to them, and they were just obsessed immediately. They're like, yep, this is fucking great. And yeah, it's one of those albums where I hadn't listened to the band in a long time, or actually ever. And I kept seeing it get posted everywhere, and I realized it was Randy's band. And I was like, oh, judging from the, you know, cover art and such, and who else I saw that was a part of it, I was like, it must be like a screamo-ish metalcore thing. And then I listened to it, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And
how would you describe it, Adam, to someone who's listening who hasn't heard it yet? How would you describe it for fans of? Well, how would you sell it?
Fans of the Donnie Darko soundtrack.
Yeah.
Okay,
like
I can see that.
Think of like the twisted, weird, really dark, heavy movies that still leave you with some sort of uplifting feeling. This is what you should be listening to when you're watching that. Like, it is literally just a experimental alternative rock.
It's like an experimental indie band.
Yeah. But I don't even like saying indie band because you can throw so much bullshit under that umbrella.
True.
It doesn't do it justice. It is just truly a experimental, soft passion project for incredibly talented musicians. And it is, you have everything from Burning the Iron Age, which is just like this weird kind of borderline symphonic, like kick drum driven song that then cuts into Die Die Die, which is almost Smashing Pumpkins-esque.
Yep.
And then my favorite song, Nine Tails, I was laughing with Randy when we first got to the studio. I was just asking him questions about the album. And Nine Tails has a vocal melody in it that reminds me of Smash Mouth. And I was like, I unironically enjoy Smash Mouth. I was like, this is a compliment. I love Smash Mouth. So that's great. I was like, cool. Well, there's one in there that literally sounds like it could have been off of, what's their fucking first album called? Kung Fu something. But Jay, I'm shocked you don't know it.
There are limits to my infinite knowledge. Sometimes that shit gets pushed out with some obscure fucking deathcore stuff. But yeah. Hey, look, to write a good I'm sorry, people want to shit on Smash Mouth, they want to shit on all these other bands. Like, look, if you write a fucking song that gets you on the radio that sells 1 million fucking copies, God bless you, good on you. Yeah, nobody has any right to talk any shit. I mean, I love how they've leaned in and they're like, oh yeah, well, Guy Fieri is our lead singer. He's just, undercover. Like, I mean, have fun with it. Have fun with it.
Is it Fushu Mang?
Fushu Mang. Yeah, I was literally about to say.
There you go.
I don't know what the fuck I was thinking, but
we're close.
Literally, one of the coolest.
Smash Mouth is music you hear when you're getting your hair cut at Great Clips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't mind that band. It's kind of like when people hate on Nickelback, and I'm like, you do know that they write nothing but hits, right?
Yes, every single thing
every
that
song
fucking
is a hit.
guy writes is a hit.
One hot take on Smash. The one song everyone thinks of for them, All Star.
Yeah.
Should have been a Weezer song.
I could see it.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a great Weezer song.
I think Pinkerton is an amazing record. I don't care what anyone says.
Oh, it is absolutely amazing. The Blue Album, I mean, I'm sorry. Fucking My Name is Jonas. If you don't hear that song and start smiling as soon as the acoustic guitar comes in, there's something fucking wrong with you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Pinkerton's incredible.
But yeah, Tradewind, if this is definitely the most oddball of the records we're talking about, but to anyone listening, if you need something you're driving in the rain and you want to feel it, this is the one. Like, it is it's a quick listen. It's only 27 minutes, but the branding for it was really cool. The transitions song to song are, even though there's not really any two songs that sound all that alike. And man, I wish I could remember what song it is.
The video for Weather Eyes is wild.
Say again.
The video for Weather Eyes is wild.
Is that the one where he's dancing?
Yeah.
That's such a cool concept.
Yeah, it's like him and the Asian girl, and she's like showing him how to do some dance. I was just like, yeah, what a crazy concept for a video.
It's so wild. And I wish I could remember what song it is. He literally has a song where he talks about, hold on, I'm looking up Genius so I can give everybody correct details here.
Attribution.
Adam, are you familiar with the first two EPs?
No, I actually haven't listened to it.
Dude, at Jay, go listen to their first two EPs too. It's completely different, but it's really good.
All right, I'll check it out. You just made me think of, though, Tim, while Adam's doing his homework. The band that you sent me, that's AJ from Purity and
Eyeball.
Yes.
Yeah. Sounds like Gavin Rosdale.
Yes.
I know. I told Kane, I was like, dude,
that is the same dude who sings for Vomit Forth. There is no way.
I was doing a plumbing job. This is what I told AJ too. I was doing a plumbing job. I was listening to Basement, I think it was, from the UK, of course. I'm listening to Basement, and then another song comes on. I'm like, is this Bush? I look at my phone and it's Eyeball. I'm like, Eyeball, and I look him up. I'm like, oh shit, this is AJ and Kane. I'm like, oh, okay. I literally thought it was Gavin Rosdale singing. And I said that to AJ, and I mean, he was like, dude, that's like the best compliment I've ever gotten. And I was like, oh, I thought you were going to be like, what the fuck? You know what, Adam, check that stuff out, man.
What was it?
Good. Eyeball.
The
cover's like a weird blue, but it's 3 songs. It's really good though.
Okay. So the song I was looking for is called Untitled 3. Little fun thing I learned from Randy about this is that this was the that they tracked to, and he just landed. They hung out for a bit, then they started tracking. At one point, looks up and goes, what the fuck is this song about? And he was like, oh, I just wrote what was happening around me on the plane when on the way here. And it's literally things like fat fucking finger smacking a screen, has me up to my nose, screaming baby speaks for me, send my signal back and forth, 2 hours in with 4 left to go, someone pull my cord. It's just like flight anxiety is what the seems to be written about. And
sounds like something I would do.
But it's just like it sounds beautiful, and then you hear what it's about and you're like, oh, it's not as deep as I thought it was. So really good. So yeah, that's a fun one. But
this record reminds me of when 100th went and totally switched from hardcore to like indie dream pop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
That 100th record, like every time I hear that record, I'm like, this is just hardcore kids who had enough of hardcore and we're just like, I want to do what I really want to do. And then they get bashed for it, but then you're fucking bobbing your head to that stuff because that 100th, them 2 records are great.
They get bashed for it from the real hardcore heads, but those people weren't really listening to 100th anyways. So
exactly.
Look at what's his name, Chad Gilbert leaves Shai Hulud, does a pop punk band, gets huge.
Yep.
Right, the Fallout Boy guys, Race Trader, Arma Angelus.
Yeah.
Right, they weren't buying mansions with that shit, and then they turned out From Under the Cork Tree, which is a perfect album, by the way. We're not.
It's funny when Andy plays This Is Hardcore and people are just like, is that the Fallout Boy guy? And it's like, yeah, he was in a hardcore band, right? Oh my god.
The singer for them, name
Patrick Stump.
Pat Stump does a guest spot on a Weekend Nacho song.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Chicago,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Adam, I got a question for you.
Huh?
I got a question for you. Don't overthink it. Name me 5 perfect albums. Don't overthink it.
Jesus Christ.
All right, I'll go. Well, Tim, you're gonna get to the question next. 5 perfect albums on the top of my head: Failure, Fantastic Planet, Glassjaw, Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Silence, Hatebreed, Satisfaction is Death of Desire, Andrew WK, I Get Wet. What is that? 4?
Yeah.
What It Is to Burn, Finch.
You want me to go now?
Yeah, go, Tim.
Don't
overthink
It Is to
it.
Burn, Finch.
Okay.
Because that record, yeah. The Fragile, 9 Inch Nails.
Ooh, interesting pick. Keep going.
Astro Creep 2000.
Okay.
White Pony. And Accelerated Evolution, Devin Townsend. Perfect record.
No shit. That's your Devin Townsend pick.
Yep.
Okay.
You're not allowed to say System of a Down. I'm just kidding. I said Deftones. Go ahead.
Jeez. All right. Hypnotized by System of a Down. Actually,
I'm surprised at that. Okay. I thought you were going to say the other one.
Actually, no. We'll trade that answer. We'll say Steal This Album from System of a Down.
That's what I thought you were going to say. Yeah.
Steal This Album, System of a Down, Melodrama by Lord, Swimming by Mac Miller, Black Messiah by D'Angelo, and Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park. Actually, no, Meteora by Linkin Park.
Wow.
Yeah, I would go with Meteora.
Really?
Honestly,
yeah.
Either one of those could be considered a perfect record, but
I think
really The Fragile? Really? That was your pick?
Yeah, I love The Fragile, man. I think that it's like Adam said with the one record. It has its highs and lows, man. It just pulls you in. I love it. I think Trent's a genius.
Okay.
I mean, I love Downward Spiral, but The Fragile is that's on another level good. That's your favorite?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a great record, man. I mean, it's 2 records, I guess you could call it, but it's good, man.
I think I would always be partial to Downward Spiral. I think. All right, whatever. Moving us along. So now we've done something kind of mellow and kind of nice. Now I'm gonna fucking ruin it. And my next pick is I've seen everything, all I need to see. I've seen all I need to see by The Body.
Let me just go right here. does nothing for me. You guys can talk about it. No, sorry, I hate it.
Adam and I were
this.
sitting. We were sitting there watching the Acacia Strain, and he turns to me, and we were joking about how he hated our 90 minutes of deathcore. And he looked at me and he went, that album. And then he looked back at the Acacia Strain and he looked at me and he went, it's something else. that was the extent of our conversation. We were like, yep.
It's just who said something about the humanity's last breath is what you hear when you're being chased in your nightmares or something.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. No, this is that.
Yeah, it's very droning and it's very.
This album is the sonic embodiment of when you're in a dream and you are fighting for your life, but you can only punch this hard.
It's sleep deprivation and sleep paralysis music.
Yeah, the sleep paralysis demon definitely comes out to this guy's voice.
It's another one where I'm never gonna listen to it again unless I'm trying to find like a crazy sound to be like, hey, let's do something like this. But
so the music itself is, so for those of you who are listening who haven't heard it, it really is kind of auditory punishment. It's not noise, but it's in the same vein as like Full of Hell and Lingua Ignota and Uniform and Thou. This is the stuff I listen to when I'm just not happy and I need to just bottom my mood out, right? Like I just need to go completely to the bottom and blow it all away so I can, get back in a good mood. This is the stuff of miserable nightmares. Like it's very difficult to listen to, but I think musically they do some interesting things. They're one of those bands where you really, I think you need to view their catalog as a whole, as opposed to just an album. So they tried to do a pop punk Nine Inch Nails album, which was called No One Deserves Happiness. And it was completely brutal. They did 2 splits with Full of Hell, which was brilliant, like collaborative splits that played the same time.
I did some of that stuff.
The 2 albums they did with Uniform, they actually toured with Uniform with Author and Punisher, which, by the way, I'm really looking forward to that new album. Amazing stuff. They've done stuff with Big Brave. They've done stuff with Sandworm. They've done so many amazing things. And it really is just kind of experimental and just pushing the limits of is it really kind of music or is it just making me uncomfortable? And it really is one of those things. 3 songs in, you're like, okay, that's enough. That's enough.
Wall of sound sonic stuff. Like it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's pulsing headache.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. It takes talent to do this stuff though, because you have to know how to arrange stuff like this.
Yes.
Anybody could just get a MIDI controller and press sounds and be like, hey, there's my record. But this stuff actually has like soul to it where like you listen to it and you're just like, well, what is this dude? What kind of drugs is this dude doing as he's writing this? Because you have to be some kind of elevated to do that kind of shit.
Yeah, it's not Merzbow, but it's kind of tough. The last album that they did, I really enjoyed.
Yeah, and Merzbow is fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's just my ears from the inside out. Yeah. I have fought against it, but I can't any longer. Is the last album they did. And I think that's a quote by some famous writer who killed themselves. And it's really dark, but there's some moments to it. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. It's not for everybody, but if you're looking to kind of see, like, again, if you like Full of Hell, if you like Lingua Ignota or Uniform, it's definitely in that vein. I think it's worth a shot.
No, I mean, shit. That's tough. Why we did this, because
Adam
somebody else might be into it.
Jesus. I'll go back to the.
If I ever really decorate my front yard for Halloween, I'm just gonna have that pulsating out there with a strobe light.
Get yourself arrested. Yeah.
I'll just stand out there in a cloak and just let kids terrified.
Yeah, the kids will be just running away and screaming, the eyes bleeding. Okay, so moving along from something that's barely considered music. Tim, you are back on the clock with your last album.
I'm going to go pretty local here to me. We're at a Reading. I'm sure Adam knows where Reading is. He's probably played there. Rivers of Nile with The Work. Well, man, this record is, here's that word again, innovative. Another innovative record. I mean, when you listen to it, it's like, what do people call like some of that metal stuff? Like the thinking man's metal. You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
it's kind of. I mean, can I use the word avant-garde? Can I use that?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's
I
genre bending death metal, man. It's
I
just
didn't like the last one with the owl. Was it the owl? Was it the last one?
that's one of my favorite records of all time.
Wasn't kind of blown away by that. This I found myself really enjoying, and it's
Yeah.
because, like I think you said, it's different, right? It's not what you'd expect. What did you think, Adam?
I'm on the same exact page. It was I'd never really listened to this band. You know, the older I got, the more I saw, you know, visuals and you're on Metal Blade and all this. I was like, I probably wouldn't really like this that much. And then I listened to this record and I was like, this is pretty nuts. Another, I think it's a common theme in what we're talking about with peaks and valleys and albums, where this one really touches all facets. It doesn't really leave you yearning for all too much.
Yeah. It drops your jaw on the floor and then you got to pick it up.
Yeah.
I mean, there's blast beats and then all of a sudden there's a saxophone interlude and it's like, wait, what?
Yeah, but it kind of fits though. It's not as for those listening, that to describe that sounds kind of jarring. You're like, well, what? But no, it actually works.
It's perfect. It's dynamic as hell. I mean, I think death metal, I think a lot of people just want Obituary and they want Deicide and they want bands like
Mortician.
that. And I just think when people are just like, that's not death metal. And I'm like, I don't even really think Obituary is a death metal band. I think they're just a groove metal band that people consider
they're thrash. Yeah, they're thrashy metal. Yeah.
This to me is where death metal is at its best for in my opinion, because it actually has musicians that are good at what they do. Because a lot of death metal bands, all you got to do is chug and drop fucking C and just go dun, 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 dun. People just, you know, they bust out their Wrangler jeans and their flannels and it's all good to go. But this shit is like, you watch these dudes play and you're just like, yo, what's that?
Wrangler metal. Wrangler jeans.
Yeah, Wrangler jeans death metal. Yeah.
Tim invented the new genre, Wrangler metal.
If you ever go to a Obituary show or a Black Label Society show in Philly, you will see what I mean. Everyone's got boots on from Walmart. They got the same jeans on and they have flannels, and underneath it, it's either a Black Label shirt, Obituary, or it's like
Cannibal Corpse. Cannibal Corpse. It's always Cannibal Corpse.
And they have their bangovers after. They call it a bangover where their neck hurts.
That was something I actually noticed a lot on this tour, was how many people just had Cannibal Corpse undershirts.
Yeah.
Like multiple people I would see wearing a shirt they just bought at the show, and you just see the like NNI.
Yeah, they have a mutilation or a mutilated
Tube of the Mutilated.
Tube of the Mutilated shirt on. Yeah.
Adam, we didn't ask you, how was the second date of the Philly tour, the church date?
You should have gone to that one, but you know,
I was literally just gonna ask him that. It's funny you said that. Let's get this record out of the way real quick, because I know it's getting late.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just think people listening, I think if you're into death metal, but you like music where it actually like has substance to it and not just blast beats, I think this is a record you would like. It's not as heavy as the Humanity's Last Breath. I think the Humanity's Last Breath record is actually better, but I think this record, because Where Owls Know My Name is one of my top records of all time. I think that is one of the most well-written records ever. The only thing I hate about this band is whoever mixes their stuff just does not do a good job. I'm sorry, whoever it is. It's just over compressed. The snare always sounds like shit, but live they kill it. I mean, they even bring out the dude who does saxophone stuff live. I mean, it's like I said on Humanity's Last Breath, sit down with this record, put on headphones, and just let the atmosphere of it take you, because there's a lot of ambience in it. There's a lot of atmosphere in it. There's a lot of droning sounds in it, and there's clean singing, and there's just, it's one of them records where at the end you're like, I think I got to listen to that again, but I got to really find what just happened. And I think that, you know, that's where we're going to see a lot of these bands going nowadays, because a lot of people, they're sick of just you even see it in hardcore now. Like you see a lot of metalcore bands doing it as well. It's like, we got to add a different flair to this. And, you know, what's his name has done it on their record we just talked about. Why am I forgetting their name? Knocked Loose.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a lot of people nowadays, especially when they have more time on their hands. They're gonna bend these genres a lot more than people were, and I think this is what you're getting out of it right now. And I think music's at its best right now, and this is a record that proves it to me. I mean,
yeah,
it's
definitely
just,
check it out.
yeah.
All right, we got 2 left. Adam, your last pick.
Every Time I Die, Radical.
Tim. Oh, I call him Tim as he's drinking. Thoughts?
I love every time I die.
Okay.
The burial plot is one of my favorite things ever. I think that was a record that just caught the East Coast by surprise, or the EP. And then the other 2 after that, what are they? Last Night in Town.
Last Night in Town, Hot Damn.
I think them records are they're genre breaking records. I think after them records come out, everybody wants to be Every Time I Die. But here's the problem with Every Time I Die for me is it's the same record all the time. Don't get me wrong, they're super talented. I think Keith is one of the best lyricists in all of hardcore metal, whatever you want to call it. His lyrics are always great. He's a cool ass dude. I get to a point with this band where I'm like, I've heard this before. Like, skip.
So I think I loved Last Night in Town. Hot Damn I should have grabbed that as a perfect album. I think that album is fucking amazing. I know Keith he's not a big fan of his lyrics, but when in Rome we shall do as the Romans, when in hell we'll do shots at the bar. I'm sorry, it's fucking brilliant. You know, are these helicopters for me? Have I been invited to speak? And I'm going to hell and taking the Renaissance with me. Like, he's a great lyricist. I think they did hit a lull. And Adam, I know you're a big fan, so I'd be curious of your thoughts. To me, they kind of bottomed out with the Big Dirty and Roman Holiday. Those albums to me don't really resonate. I thought Gutter Phenomenon, the Southern rock turn, was fucking great. But the last 2-3 albums, what is it? X Lives, Low Teens, and then this, I think they've just gotten better and better and better. Map Change is probably the best song they've ever written. Like,
no, I enjoy some of their stuff. I just think a lot of the songs it's like they're the AC/DC of like metalcore. You know what I mean? If you want to call them a metalcore band, I know that they're not. I don't really know how to describe them though, and I think Adam would know that. I think he would have a better term for that. But
I would say they're probably, you could call them alternative metalcore.
Okay.
If you put a term, that's the best way to put it. Just very metalcore rooted, but it has a lot of like Southern soul roots as well.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what band He Is Legend?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I think that band pretty much takes from Every Time I Die, but I think He Is Legend does it better, where I'm more, my attention keeps with that band more than Every Time I Die, if that makes sense.
You think He Is Legend is better than Every Time I Die?
I do, yeah.
That's a wrong opinion.
That's a spicy take. So Adam, you're a fan. What are your thoughts on the newest album? How does it rank to some of the to some of the previous albums? What are your thoughts?
So this band is one of my all-time favorite bands, no matter what genre you talk about. And I think the crazy thing for me with Every Time I Die is every time they put an album out, it usually takes me a couple of listens to really like get into it. With this new one, it was right away from the jump, was ready to go, and a little bit. The crazy thing for
we lost Adam. And he's frozen on screen.
We'll see if he comes back. But what, like, do you get what I'm saying though, where like a lot of the songs just feel like they're, don't get me wrong, the musicians in Every Time I Die are fucking phenomenal musicians.
Yes.
I just feel like they ride the wave of the same riffing concepts. And don't get me wrong, I can't play most of that shit on guitar. I mean, if I tried, I probably could, but I can't write that stuff. I'm not talking. That's what a lot of people think, like I'm talking shit, but I'm really not, because I enjoy musicianship and I enjoy, people that can do that kind of stuff. I get bored with it.
I think that some of their albums kind of, there were a couple for me that really didn't jump out. They kind of like bottomed out. But from Parts Unknown, X Lives, like every every album from that point on, after everything after Roman Holiday, there's on an album of 10 songs, there's a good 6 songs I really like. There's another 2 or 3, which I'm like, yeah, these are pretty good too. And I think they write pretty good, I mean, rock influenced metalcore stuff. I do. I think you're absolutely right. I think Keith's lyrics are second to none.
Yeah,
right? Like
they're a standout for that.
He puts together amazing lyrics, and not for nothing, they put on a fucking amazing show. They put on a great show.
Live.
They always have. We were talking about Knock Loose. They had Knock Loose open for them one of the last times I saw them, and it was fucking amazing. Then they did that greatest hits tour where it was them, Angel Dust Turnstile, and Vain. And they started with Burial Plot Bidding War, and then they played 1 or 2 songs from every album, and they ended with Map Change. And it was a fucking awesome show. Adam is back. Maybe. There you go. Adam, you were just about to say the thing about this album is, and then you froze.
Yeah, that was me leaving you guys on a cliffhanger there.
So continue your thought.
Yeah, give me just a second. I just had to figure out why I wasn't working on where was I? Okay,
yeah, it's been choppy the whole time. I think it just needed a reboot.
So, with Every Time I Die, album to album to album, I share a very common opinion that every record gets better. And I think a lot of that comes from liking the original, like really enjoying the blueprint. And then, we're now 20 years down the road, and it's more so similar sound with new execution ideas. And the fact that, like, even though you can say that, yeah, album to album, any humongous step stylistically, there's not any 2 songs that really sound all that alike. And they're not really, every time that they refurbish something, it's much more of a throwback feel than it is like they didn't have anything else to do.
I like that term, refurbish, because they've polished their sound over every album, and it gets a little bit more refined and a little bit more refined.
Exactly. But I will say, I think that lyrically, this is the best, in my opinion. This album and are 2 that are next level. And when I go through and read the lyrics for this album, I'm just like, my God, like, I think my favorite song is actually Thing with Feathers, which is like the one of the 2 ballad songs on the album. And it's got Andy Hull from Manchester Orchestra, and it's not a heavy song at all. It's a very sad song. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's about Keith Buckley's sister dying. But it's from what I've read through, Kerrang articles and so on and so forth, this is the most vulnerable, revealing album for Keith Buckley. And you got a song called Hostile Architecture, which is, it's just talking about being at home and not feeling at home kind of thing. And his execution vocally throughout that, as well as the way he finds a ton of different new melodies. He's still finding new ways to talk about things 20 years. It's very, I just did our 3rd album and was struggling to figure out what the fuck I wanted to talk about. And he's on the 11th, I think.
Yeah, something like that. Damn. Yeah, almost a dozen. Yeah.
What are we at? Let's see. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. Damn. Jesus.
I guess
that's a lot to say.
I guess that also, comes to the fact where, like, there's some tension in the band now, and maybe they need the break. They've been touring constantly for how long you say, 20 years? Yeah. They've been touring constantly.
There are really interviews with them about, like, what was it like touring before GPS? Like, literally things you don't think about now. I couldn't do that. Genuinely would not know what the fuck to do. They were touring before the as a tool to promote. Like, it's pretty unreal.
Yeah. To eke out a career.
Yeah. And stronger now than they ever were. They're 20 years down the line. They have not really. They're one of those very few bands, I feel like especially in metal, you see a band that's been around this long, you can find 3 or 4 albums that are,
Yeah.
and they consistently put out incredible albums. So they are the product that band strives to be.
Yeah, I mean, the longevity with them is second to none. I mean, you don't, like you said, there's not many bands that can stay the course for that long.
And in a genre of music that's not big name, you know what I mean? This isn't shit that's on the radio. This doesn't have instant name recognition, and yet they have created a healthy career for themselves where they can make a living off the band. And yeah, they've we were just talking, Adam, about while you were reconnecting, how for me, every single album, if there's 10 songs on an album, at least 6 of them I really, really enjoy. And there's another 2 or 3 where I'm like, yeah, these are pretty good too. And there's usually one where I'm like, whatever. But more often than not, more than half that album I'm really going to enjoy. And that says something for a band 10 albums and 20 years in. It's impressive.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So let's go to the last pick of the evening. My last pick, we're going to go to a band. I believe they're from North Carolina. This band is titled Filth, and the album's name is Ignorance. The Ignorance. What did you think, Tim?
Super fucking heavy. I love the vocals in this record. It's kind of generic at times for me, but it's I think it's like a last 10 seconds of life. If I wanted to compare it to something, I think it goes along them lines of that kind of band. And then, the singer is on one of the songs. And then I was like, oh, there you go. That's kind of just solidifies where I was thinking with that. It just doesn't blow me away. It's kind of like deathcore where I'm like, yeah, I've heard it, but I see why you like it. It's very, very technical at times, but at times I just feel like it's thrown together generically. I don't. It's one of them records where I'll listen to it, but I won't go back to it.
All right, fair enough. Adam?
This genre doesn't really do much for me. I've been into shit talking deathcore since When's a Plague. So, and it's not like a knock. I mean, what they do it very well. Like they are very obviously a good band. Just it's something that, like, when I listened to it, I felt like I was listening. I felt like I was in my car in high school. I was like, this is what I used to listen to.
Yeah.
Way back when we were going to house shows all the time and starting fights like a bunch of assholes. And it's just not my thing. The vocals are very good. And the band itself is like hilariously heavy. But
that's the thing I see. I'm like, yo, this is so heavy. It's like, what is this, fucking 10 strings?
It's kind of laughable. Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, to me, it just doesn't really do much for me personally, but it's not any sort of knock on them as a band. It's just not a world that I'm.
Fair enough. That's
fair.
fair.
What caught you? What catches you like with this, Jay? Because I mean, I know the kind of music you like, but.
So we talked about this year 2021 was the year of deathcore and slam for me, because I never really listened to a lot of it, and then this year I kind of experimented with a bunch. These guys jumped out to me for a couple of reasons. I thought the songs were short enough that I could get into them without like kind of being blasted over. There's a couple that are long. Most of them are in the 2.5-3 minute mark, which I think is a sweet spot for deathcore. His fucking vocals, he does the squeals, he does the highs, and he does the gutturals, and it's one dude. And he's a big dude. But he fucking nails it.
Yeah. And you're 100% correct with that. His vocal range is incredible.
For a 4-piece band, right? They're fucking heavy. This was not my deathcore slam pick of the year. That actually was Absolver by Signs of the Swarm. They fucking blew it right the fuck out of the park.
That band.
Unreal. But these guys, I really like them. They're a younger band. They're up and coming. And it sounded, to your point, Tim, right? A lot of this stuff does kind of sound the same. It does kind of sound derivative. It's the same, but different. But this, for me, I just really dug the album. And that first single, that Nihilist, that came out, I was like, oh, I'm fucking in. And again, it was when I was going through, Body Snatcher and Slaughter to Prevail and all that other stuff, just digging down in the deathcore minds. By the way, there's a Facebook page called Dads Against Deathcore, which I wish they would make a t-shirt because it's fucking great. Like all their posts are like old guys complaining about deathcore. It's fucking great. But I mean, I would like to see them. I put them in the same vein, kind of like a Left to Suffer, right? Really like ridiculously heavy, which I'm still pissed that tour got rerouted away from fucking Philly or Jersey, wherever it was supposed to be. Oh, it was supposed to be Trenton, and then they shot the venue up. Somebody shot up the venue. It was Left to Suffer, Body Snatcher, Boundaries, and Mouth for War, which, by the way, was my hardcore album of the year. Or was it that, or was it Section 8? It might have been Section 8. But no,
Momentum.
I really, pretty good. No, I like this. I'd like to see these guys live, and I think they're, for our first album, it doesn't divide them much from the pack, but I think there's a lot of talent there. That's where I think that's my 2 cents.
I think they definitely have the right chemistry for success because it's a lot of like sing along things, and then it's a lot of reaction, like parts that are blatantly written for reaction.
Oh,
and that's what will carry you in the deathcore world.
Hit songs. Yep.
I mean, Body Snatchers the way right now. They are blowing the fuck up. That does what this band does, and we just toured with them in 2019, and they made me a believer of them. I literally could not have cared less about their music whenever we were going into the tour, and then I saw them live night one. I was like, yo, this is insane.
Yeah, it's good. And they have put out a steady diet of EPs and singles, and Adam,
and then they put that LP out.
You toured with Spite, right? Did we lose him again? We lost him again.
God.
You're still there. You're still there.
My back. All right. Yes, I toured with Spite twice.
Yeah, the same thing. Like I put that they're a really talented band who that new song is really fucking good. Like I'm really excited about some of this. I didn't like Winds of Plague the first time around. All the deathcore stuff, Job for a Cowboy wasn't my thing, but now that I'm older, maybe I'm kind of into it. So yeah, I'll fuck with it.
So, have you heard the band Bermuda?
Yes.
No.
All right, Jay, I'm sending an album to our little group chat. That if you're getting in, you have listened to Mall Solution.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, I was about to say that's arguably the best deathcore band to have ever existed. And you've listened to the original Whitechapel LP, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Then you've got the basics. Then this band Bermuda that I just sent you was one that similar vein to like really like moshy deathcore stuff, but it's the EP I sent you is one of the most interesting deathcore EPs I've ever heard to this day. It's still very, very and different than a lot of the stuff you heard around that time. So,
all right, cool. I'll check it out.
I'm gonna send one in the chat too. That's like that.
Dan, our buddy Dan that you met, Adam, made a good point. He was talking about the deathcore stuff and the moshy metalcore, and he's like, I love my hardcore and I love my extreme metal, but at the same time, there's something to be said about a bunch of dudes in mosh shorts that just want to write fucking heavy music to get people flailing around a room. There is an intellectual honesty there, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I can fucking agree, right? I just want to kind of giggle and listen to these guys hit these low tones on an 8-string and watch people flail around. It's kind of fun.
Have you ever heard Monsters?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna send another
Jesus. I'm gonna be upstairs like smashing things around. Kim's going, what the fuck are you doing?
I'm trying to think of any others that if you're kind of like getting into this now. Hold on. What else?
Episode 72. Old guy finds deathcore. That's basically the subtitle of this episode.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting at.
You fuckers.
Here it is. Okay. There's one more I literally just had in my head and it's already gone. I'm gonna blame COVID brain for that one. Tony Danza Tap Dance Extravaganza.
Oh, I love fucking Tony Danza. We were just talking about them. I was talking about Sentinels and how to me there's very much the same DNA there. Tony Danza is one of those bands I'm really heartbroken. I never got to see live. I thought that their last album, the Alpha and the Omega, was great. Josh Travis, my God, He is a
Beast.
fucking madman.
Yeah.
The fretboard stuff, and he's all over the place. Yeah, it's fucking wild.
I mean, they're from here, so I saw them in many small rooms, and also a couple of huge rooms at the same time. And I saw them play with Suicide Silence and Molotov Solution, and somebody else was on that tour, and they were a 4-piece. And I was like, how the fuck are you doing this?
It's nuts. Yeah, their shit is nuts. Even back to the first album, like when they open with the fucking jazzy jam part, then it's the Sweet Child of Mine riff, the and then he just goes right in. Like, oh, it's fantastic. Good stuff. All right, gents. Well, we're quickly running out of time. We're actually recording this on a Sunday night, so I'm sure we have work tomorrow. So, Tim, I'm going to start with you. Final thoughts.
I think if I had to go back and think of 3 records, I probably would have changed one of these, but this year has been crazy with music. I mean, there's like 40 records I still have to listen to. It's the 26th by Wednesday, and I have to make a decision, but 2022 is going to be even crazier. Yep. And not just saying this because Adam's on the show, but I'm really looking forward to that new Orthodox.
I'm looking forward to getting it.
Yeah, I mean,
fucking out to everybody.
We'll wait. We'll do a couple minutes when we're done. We'll talk about that because But yeah, I mean, I think that it's very much impossible to pick your top 10 nowadays. 10 years ago, it was like, oh yeah, I know my top 10. It's easy. But nowadays, it's like, fuck, man. There's 17,000 records in my queue, and it's like I'll never get to them. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure in 2023 we'll be like, dude, did you hear that record in 2021? It's like, man, I should have put that in my list, and it happens all the time. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So,
yep.
But
final thoughts, Adam?
The only final thought I have is the one album that I was tossing around. I ended up using Tradewind because I thought it'd be a kind of twist to have a non-heavy band. But if you have not listened to The Lurch by the band Yautja, you absolutely must. The way that you spell Yautja is Autja, and it is one of the coolest albums, and it's a 3-piece and based a couple of the members are based out of Nashville. I don't honestly know where they all live now, but one of those bands where I've seen in town multiple times, and every time I see them it makes me want to stop being because they're that talented. It is
how do you spell that again?
I'll send it to you, Tim.
Yeah, Yautja, Yautja. So them open for Trap Them.
They played Underground Arts with Blood Incantation the night after we were there.
Oh yeah, that like marathon show and Primitive Man and Backslider.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to actually steal that flyer from the wall. No, I didn't want to get yelled at. So,
Wait, you think we get in trouble because you stole a flyer from the wall?
I was going to take the Primitive Man one because I love them, but I didn't want to like my OCD catches me off guard because it was like so perfectly placed on the wall, and I was like,
"Oh yeah, in the bathroom,
it
was perfect." Yeah,
and
like, Tim didn't want to get caught.
For some reason, you cut out just as like it as you started speaking. I thought you said you didn't want to get us in trouble. I was like, you thought we would get in trouble?
No.
Stole a flyer.
I went to the bathroom and I came out and I seen the flyer. I was like, oh, dude, that looks so good. I
thought the same thing. It was perfectly, and there was the staples were in the corner, so you could have just lifted and rolled. Yeah, good stuff. All right, for my final thoughts, I don't think I would redo any of my picks, but I will say that tune in to the Tim's show, the Ill Street News podcast. We're going to go deep on what are our top picks for 2021. Disappointments, what didn't we get enough time with, and then Tim's got his metal show where he's really going down the rabbit hole. So once again, we want to thank Adam for coming on. It was great to finally meet him and see him in meat space, even though we all ended up with the plague afterwards. And it was a fun time. I'm glad we did it this unique way, just picking a couple albums and riffing on it, which was kind of fun. So once again, want to thank everybody for listening, watching, tuning in. newbreedpodcast@gmail.com, newbreed_podcast on Twitter and Instagram. Instagram, find us on the Facebook group. We actually had some traction lately, so people have been chatting. So once again, on behalf of Adam, Tim, and myself, I want to thank you all for tuning in and listening. And until next time, this is New Breed Podcast saying cheers.
See ya.
See ya.